Hello and welcome to the Noble Leaders Cup. I am Kjotleik. This is the game between George III of Great Britain and Bayinnaung of Burma in the first qualifying round. George III is industrious and imperialistic, and Great Britain starts with fishing and mining. Bayinnaung is aggressive and creative, and Burma starts with mysticism and agriculture. Starting positions of George III then, and let's get resource bubbles on. We see he's starting here on the southern part of the starting continent. There is crabs, there's aluminum, horses, some marble, some corn, and even some iron up here. He starts down south here. Bayinnaung of Burma starts up north, next to some corn, some fish. Up here we have crabs, and down here we have some iron, very little land he needs to expand to get out of it. A lot more land down here with George III, so let's get the game rolling. Off we go. George III versus Bayinnaung in the first qualifying round of the NLC. One city each with Bayinnaung on Buddhism. Still one city each. Turn 50 and 2 cities each now. Bayinnaung probably got it a little bit a turn before George III. But Bayinnaung is up to 3 cities before George has his third. And 4 cities Bayinnaung now, 4-2 in the city count, 5-2. What is George III doing down there? 5-2 in the city count. That is something that could be a huge advantage, and it has gone a long time now. Bayinnaung with 6-2 cities. And George III, what are you doing? Finally a third city for George, but you were really slow expanding early on here. Bayinnaung of Burma has the early advantage then with 7 cities to 4 now. George is up to 4 cities at least, 5 cities. So he is catching up, but Bayinnaung's cities are older and thus have grown a little bit more. 8 cities to 6 now. Going monarchy next, calendar for George. 9 cities to 7. We have the first war of the game, and we can see in the middle of the screen there was a city that was raised. 11 cities Bayinnaung, 5 cities for George III. And George, while he is blue on the leader list, he is red on the map, and as you can see now, Bayinnaung with 12 cities, George III on 5, and this war is going well for the Burmese leader now. Feudalism for George and theology for Bayinnaung, and they signed peace as George III is now down to 4 cities, and Bayinnaung with 13-4, he has a crucial advantage. George is up to 6 cities again as he founds another one, but we see Bayinnaung has expanded a lot better than George III, so this game is now Bayinnaung's to throw away. He should win from this position. Clearly he should. Turn 224 now, with 15 cities now Bayinnaung, 15-6, 16-6, he is settling the lands now, and George is in trouble. 16 cities Bayinnaung, George III on 7, and George is down to 0.4 the strength of Bayinnaung as well. So a Bayinnaung that is 2.5 times as strong as George III, that is a very dangerous foe for George III to have. George really needs to get up to that continent up in the northeast and be the only one settling that up there. I don't think that he is going to get there and do that, but that is what he needs if he wants to stay competitive in this game, and then he needs to stay in peace until he has settled all of it. And liberalism first for Bayinnaung as well, that's another advantage. 23 cities now for Bayinnaung to George III's 7. George is down to 0.3 the strength, and Bayinnaung is going optics astronomy, which means that, and we have the next war, which means that Bayinnaung is going to settle that continent up in the northeast if he even needs to do it, because in this war he is 3 times as strong as George III, and now George is down to 6 cities. This could be the end of the game for George, and Bayinnaung maybe not even need to reach that continent up in the northeast up there. 5 cities left for George III now, and this could end quickly now. Turn 288. With 5 cities left, he tries to go for optics, but with only 5 cities, 228. That is not going to help you, George. You were way too slow early game in expansion. That is where you lost the game, and this is the result. 3 cities left now for George III, and he's never going to reach astronomy before he gets conquered. Bayinnaung has got circumnavigation as well before the game ends. 3 cities left for George III. This is going to be a Bayinnaung conquest, I believe, unless they sign peace. Still 3 cities though left for George. Bayinnaung, come on, take them out so you can get this early victory. Turn 310. I guess it's not going to be too early, but it's still going to be relatively early. 2 cities left for George III. 2 cities left, and Bayinnaung is marching on those 2 last cities. 1 city left for George III now. 1 city left, and we are looking at a conquest victory by Bayinnaung. Any turn now. Turn 320 now. We are in the 20th century, and George III is soon to be eradicated. 1 city left. There it is all over. Bayinnaung has won. Let's click none to confirm, and here it is. The conquest victory is here. Turn 325, 1905 AD. Congratulations, Bayinnaung. Bayinnaung declared 2 wars, winning 3-0 and 7-0 in city captures, ending with a conquest victory 1905, turn 325. Let's look at the graphs and the stats. Here we see Bayinnaung is the lighter, and George III is the darker reddish, orange and red basically. GNP then, we see here Bayinnaung number 1 throughout the game. Production, food, power, culture, and espionage, all Bayinnaung. So a well-deserved victory. The demographics show George's numbers here, Bayinnaung's here to the right, and top 6 cities and wonders. We see 2 wonders in the BC era, Oracle and Stonehenge, and we see Bayinnaung with all the top 6 cities. Statistics page 10, George III, 10 cities built, 3 religions, no improvements. In his cities he built 8 granaries, 6 lighthouses, 5 barracks, 1 apostolic palace. Page down, there is nothing page down, so line up. Yes, the Apostolic Palace was indeed the last building on the list. Current units then, 1 settler. He trained a total of 34 workboats, 12 settlers and archers, 1 scout. Let's go page down, and we see 1 galley completing the list. The kills: 11 trebuchets, 6 catapults, 5 axemen and Shan warriors, down to 1 caravel. The losses: 17 longbowmen, 12 macemen and 11 catapults, down to 1 Hindu missionary. Bayinnaung's numbers: 26 cities built, 1 raised, 4 religions founded, 1 golden age, currently on 39 windmills, 37 farms, 34 mines. He did build in his cities, 27 barracks, 25 granaries, 23 lighthouses, down to 1 Notre Dame. Let's go page down and see the Great Lighthouse completing the list of buildings. Current units then for Bayinnaung: 66 longbowmen, 49 grenadiers and 31 Shan warriors, down to 1 caravel. He did train 62 longbowmen, 35 Shan warriors, 26 settlers and archers, 5 cuirassiers. Page down and see 1 Hindu missionary, completing the list of units trained. Let's confirm the kills: 17 longbowmen, 12 macemen, 11 catapults, down to 1 Hindu missionary, and the losses: 11 trebuchets, 6 catapults, 5 X-men and Shan warriors, down to 1 war elephant. Congratulations, Bayinnaung, with the conquest victory. Let's go take a look at the victory condition screen. We see George III has no cities left. The only cities here is the Burmese cities. He was never really close to culture. 68% of the land area. He could have won domination had he settled a few more cities. Bayinnaung built the Apostolic Palace as well. Let's go take a look at the cities. Of course, George III doesn't have any cities. We are going to have to change to Bayinnaung in order to see any cities whatsoever. And of course George settled one, but that was after the game was over. Sort by population here. Yes, we are at the top. Town Gu with pop 17, Ava 14, Yangon and Taton and Pegu on 13. The biggest cities are a little bit unhappy, but in general they are happy and they are healthy and they have decent food. They have decent, well, not in Taton and not in Sitwe, but decent-ish commerce. Okay, he is in anarchy at the moment, so we won't see the total of hammers, but we see the base hammers, and those you can compare with other stuff. There are a lot of cities with single digits here, which is not really good. Building Angkor Wat in Manchester. Sri Kshetra is the last city on page 1, that is the first pop 6 city. Let's go bottom, pop 6, Sri Kshetra. So Mataban is the first city on page 2, building units in all of those lower cities. Congratulations, Bayinnaung, going through to the second qualifying round. Tomorrow we have 2 league games and a cup game, and the cup game tomorrow is between Geronimo and Salamasina. I hope to see you back then. I am Kjotleik. This has been the Noble Leaders Cup. Goodbye for today.